Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Ryan Dins, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about the comparisons between Apple and Microsoft, the two biggest stocks in the world. They are the two biggest American tech stocks as well, and, you know, they're always leading the way in innovation, they're leading the way in technology. Everybody knows about them. Most people that are watching this have one of the products, and, you know, we're just going to go one by one in these different categories, and we're going to explain which one is better and why. Alright, so as everyone who is used to watching my channel, I am a dividend investor. So one of the most important things in picking dividend stocks is the yield. And right now, currently Microsoft has a 1.04% yield when Apple only has 0.64%. So obviously that's going to be a win for Microsoft right there. I didn't put this particular stat up, but also every stock has a dividend safety score. And the reason I didn't put this on, they both have a dividend safety score of 99, which means it's very unlikely that the dividends in either of these stocks will be cut. So they're going to be a tie in that category. They're both excellent when it comes to that. You can expect these dividends to continually be raised. Now the problem is if the stocks keep going up 20% a year and they only raise the dividend 15% a year, these dividend yields are going to go down. But you don't look at it that way. You look at it as the overall yield of what you paid for it. So if you buy it now at 1% and the stock doubles and you know, the yield goes down because the yield can't keep up with the growth, you're still going to get a higher yield on what you paid for. Alright, now the next category, PE ratio. And this kind of describes what is a cheaper deal, what is a better buy at the moment. Now, as I preach on my channel, I like to go for stocks in like 15 to 25 range. Even 25 is a lot. I like to be like in the you know, 15 to 20 is really good. These are very high. But when it comes to tech stocks, these things you can expect a lot of growth. So with that being said, either of them is pretty comparable. I mean, Microsoft hardly beats in this. The only reason it slightly beat it is because Apple just kind of had a run recently. You know, if you were to look at this a few months ago, they would have been about tied. But, gotta give it to Microsoft. Now, next thing is earnings per share. I took all of the following data for the last year, so 2020 as a whole. And the earnings per share is how much growth it has per share that you own. So, earnings per share is basically how much earnings per every share of the company has. So that's also got to go to Microsoft. Microsoft kind of dominating right now. I'm good. 3 for 3. So finally Apple gets a win here, which is revenue. Revenue is the overall amount of money that they made in 2020. Not profit, simply revenue. Total amount of money that they grossed. So Apple is absolutely crushing them. It's almost double. So Apple gets the clear win in that category. Now the next category is profit margin. That's self-explanatory. Like, how much do you pay to make all the products, you know, to pay your staff, to pay the CEOs, to pay all of that, and then take your profit after all its expenses. That means Microsoft's seeing a 30% margin, Apple's seeing a 20% margin. And some of you drop shippers out there might be like, oh, I see 200% margins. Yeah, but you're not doing it at the scale they are. If you're doing it at this scale, anything over 10% is pretty good. But 30% for a company that big is pretty good. So we're going to have to go for Microsoft there. And cash on hand. It's always very important to have money in the bank in case you need it. And it's not too much explanation in that, how much cash you have on hand. You may need it one day. And Apple's also winning that one. So right now, we have 4-2 Apple. And the last category is going to be future and my opinion. You know, this is just based on my opinion on what I see these companies doing in the future. And I'm going to have to give the edge on that one to Apple. If Apple gets into electric vehicles and becomes a competitor of Tesla, they could be the biggest company in the world by far. And they're talking about doing that. They're more innovative than Microsoft. I feel as though they're both great companies, but Microsoft is not as innovative as Apple. Apple is always the first one to come out with something, and then Microsoft sort of follows. Also, I'm not a big fan of Bill Gates. let's not get too into that, but I just don't like the guy. So I'm going to have to give it to Apple in that sense. So even though my opinion is Apple has more long-term growth, Microsoft is clearly the better buy at the moment. So we're going to have to give the winner of this contest to Microsoft. I personally will be accumulating both, but I'm going to be a little bit heavier on Apple. I'm going to decide on what the price looks like. I'm big onto patterns. I look at patterns, I look at buy points, I look at trend lines. So neither of these is at a great buy point right now, unfortunately, but I'm still buying them when if they go down 5-10% a week, I'm definitely going to buy a few more. So my final answer is I will buy either of these, and they're definitely going to be like not huge risks for the future. I think both of them will be much higher in 5 years than they are now. So they just keep going up. I mean, do you remember the last time Apple went down for a very long period of time? Anytime they went down, it was just a great opportunity to buy a dip. Microsoft has been kind of flying up, but I think they're going to continue to fly up. So do your own research. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I got plenty of other videos about plenty of different stocks, and make sure you do your research and buy some of these. All right? Have a good week. Have a great new year.